Hi, thank you for waiting. This is Steve again from Worthington Distribution. You're at my Worthington University online session on on Alula Communicators. Excuse me for that. Um, I'm going to talk to you about the different communicators. There's really only two of them that they're offering right now because they pretty much are Swiss Army knives of communicators. They carry most of the features that people would need. Rather than having to deal with a whole bunch of different models, you really only need to deal with one or two. So the primary purpose of the communicators is to take over an alarm system. Obviously, if you have an alarm system where you got to replace, the phone lines, there's no more phone lines. The communicator is great for that. But also another thing is to be able to take over an existing system that you may not have installer code for. That's going to be probably one of the most interesting things for most of the installers that may be watching the show right now. Okay, so I'm going to talk about who Alula is. Uh, I'll tell you who I am. Um, Go into the communicators, what keypad emulation is, and then answer any questions you may have. Okay. I've been in the business about 35 years. I've done several different things from being an alarm installer to being tech support here for the past 13 years. And so, I've dealt with all different things. But I did start out in the alarm industry, so I've always been interested in what alarm systems are doing and all the new innovations in the products. Alula's been in the business quite a few years under different names, and I'll go into more details about that. Um, we brought in Alula. Actually, we've had both of the companies that Alula has become from, IP Datatel and Resolution Products. IP Datatel has been a communicator company for many years, and Worthington's been carrying them for several years now. And Resolution Products is a wireless security system manufacturer, known for the Helix panel and known for some, GE, DSC, 2 gig, and Honeywell compatible security contacts. They merged together and became the company Alula, and now they're offering all of those products under one manufacturer's name. Um, the good thing about these communicators now is that it's future-proof communication. As we know in our business, every few years, the telephone companies will put out a new version of cellular. So you go from 2G to 3G, from 3G to 4G to LTE, and that means you've got to replace the communicator. Sometimes what happens is you have no notice, so you get a phone call from the customer saying, I've got no communication. My alarm system's not able to call out anymore. If you have a combination unit that's both cellular and IP, then at least you always have the IP backup to be able to send the signal, have the communication. This way, you're future proof. So you can get to the customer and replace their system without it being an emergency, without it being a down communication. Dual path is, of course, highly recommended. You have the ability to send either over the over the internet or over cellular, and you can pretty much be assured that your communication is always going to be there. The system will go over IP primarily and back up to cellular. This way, you always have the fastest communication available. Quick thing, LTE is now the current standard that everyone is shooting for their cellular communications. It's going to be over what GSM and what CDMA have been providing us. Antennas are very important. Some people using LTE communicators are not getting the range they used to get with CDMA. That has a lot to do with the antennas. You want to make sure that you have a system that has the antennas to give you that communication to your cell towers. The BAT LTE is a combination cellular and IP communicator. It will allow you to do keypad emulation, which I'll go into a little later on, upload, download with certain communicator panels. You have remote access on the go through an app to be able to arm, disarm most panels using a smartphone. That's regardless of whether or not those panels have their own app. This is actually done through the communications on the system. Panel compatibility. in addition to the ones listed here, the Honeywells, the DSC, and Interlogics, other panels that just have what you refer to as a key switch. Key switch is just a way to arm and disarm a panel just by a momentary contact closure. So even if you have a panel that doesn't have the full keypad emulation like the DSC, Interlogics, or Honeywell, you can still arm or disarm them remotely from the app. So what is keypad emulation? The picture, the DSC picture is a keypad. This is actually from the alarmdealer.com website. This is actually what the keypad would look like. So I would actually have a complete emulation of a DSC keypad or Honeywell or whatever manufacturer keypad I'm working with. On the right is the app that happens to be a Vista app showing on the app. Now, to give an example of how good keypad emulation is over some of the other apps, is that you can actually do everything on here that you can do with keypad. I demonstrated this in a live demonstration to a dealer, and we actually went into installer programming through keypad emulation, so he could actually change user code remotely without having to go on site. That's where keypad emulation becomes very important. So we want to talk about takeover. One of the things about takeover is, a lot of times you're called out to take over a security system that's been locked. Installer code is gone, the installer has gone out of business, and you have a customer with a full working security system, just no monitoring. So how can you take it over? Well, basically, when you connect the communicator to the system, and I'll show wiring in the next slide, you log on to your account with alarmdealer.com, change the central station information to the phone number of your central station account number, and then check override the signal coming from the panel. This way, what will happen is that no matter what phone number and account number is being sent from the panel, it ignores that and just calls your central station with your account number, and then forwards the rest of the contact ID security information. Wiring is simple. It's a 6-wire connection. You're going to tie in the power, your data bus, the communication bus, and the phone line. Now, what happens is you'll notice there's no connection for a regular POTS lines to this thing. This is not going to be a backup to telephone. This is completely replacing the telephone connection, allowing this to be your primary source of communication. This way, you're not relying on telephones at all, and you're able to just completely use the cellular and IP communication to your central station. Okay, slide got a little weird there. But basically, the communication is always on. It's direct communication right through alarmdealer.com, right to your central station. You have your notifications. You can actually, through alarmdealer.com, you can get your forwarding to your central station. You can get recorded phone messages to send to your customer. Let them know there's a problem with their system, so they can get voice messages. They can get text messages. So all of those things can happen through the alarmdealer.com website before it even gets to your central station. So this gives your customer all those ways of communication. Let them know there's something going on. And of course, they have the ability to then interact with their system using the keypad emulation. So you have I'm not going to go into all the details on the slide, but basically you have redundancy and you have all the servers protecting your signal, so your signal will always get forward. Now, actually, this is a very short presentation because it's a very simple concept. Hopefully, everyone understood what I was discussing, and I'll be able to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. Next week, we'll be talking about the Alula Connect Plus. That is a full security / automation system. It will allow you to be able to have complete control over a home completely wirelessly without having to run any wires, so to speak. And now is the time to have any questions. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in. We'll spend a few minutes answering any questions you may have, and see if anything's come up. While we're waiting for a couple of questions, this is actually what one of the communicators looks like. This is actually an older CDMA module, but the LTE module is very similar. Same communication box. Have the antennas. Yeah, well, of course you have more antennas on the LTE version. Um, you have a jack for your network communication. You have your wiring for the bus and stuff like that. And it's very simple. Um, the Wi-Fi version, which is just communication back Wi-Fi or hardwired cellular, won't have the cellular in it. It's just basically completely IP. Both those modules work very well. I'll also note that for 1 week from today's date, we are offering 10% off all of the Alula communication products. Is that all Alula products or just the communication? All the Alula communicators, which is two models. The BAT Wi-Fi, which is strictly IP communication, and the BAT LTE, which is IP as well as cellular. And you don't have to have them both on if you don't want to. You can either have all IP or all cellular. It just obviously makes sense to have them both. No, no, this is not for voice yeah, this is not for voice communication. It's only going to be data, so you wouldn't be able to use this to make a voice call out over the cellular network. This is just going to transmit data. Yeah, you can turn on all features. Obviously, there's different levels for the services that you can get. So if you don't want the interactive, just communication only, that would be like the lowest tier of cost. And then it's like if you add interactive, it raises the price a couple of dollars. But if you want to do it for strict communication, you can certainly do that. Okay. The question was, I realize I should be repeating the questions. The question was, does the communicator require going through the relay of alarmdealer.net to do that? That's correct because the system is coded to contact directly to alarmdealer.com and then it'll allow you to forward it to your central station. The advantage of that is that if you change central stations or there are other reasons to make changes on the account, customer information or like that, you can go right to log on to alarmdealer.com and make those changes. You don't have to go back out to the site. The whole thing is trying to reduce your service time and your labor and try to automate as much of this process as possible. Okay, almost repeated the same question. Yes, alarmdealer.com is your service provider. In other words, you're not going to be paying an AT&T bill or a Verizon bill for this. You're just be paying the fee to alarmdealer.com to provide the service for you. So they're paying for the cellular service, the IP communication, and the forwarding to your central station. And of course, if you do any of the add-on things like keypad emulation or tying in automation, they would, that would, adjust the fees for that. Yes, you can use any central station. You're not restricted to central stations. Um, Basically, as far as your central station is concerned, the call is coming right from the alarm panel. There's no real difference in what they receive. It's just that you're able to insert your own account number and call your own central station instead of whatever the alarm panel was previously programmed for. I can't give you the, okay, the question is how much is the delay for the forwarding to happen? I can't give you an exact number. I don't know the exact number, but we're talking about milliseconds, maybe seconds. I mean, it's not a very long time because it's a high speed communication, and it's high speed communication. So I can't see it taking any longer than dialing out over the phone. Okay. Yes. Lula was watching the webinar and they said under 1 second would be the communicator. Oh, okay. Updating. 250 milliseconds is the time that it takes to forward the call. So if you figure out how long it takes a touch-tone call to go through, it's probably about the same amount of time. Technically, you can. You can not forward signal to your central station and then just use it for, um, receiving text messages, recorded voice messages, and have the emulation. You will still be paying a monthly fee for the service, but you would not have to forward to a central station if you didn't require that. Okay. You actually go to alarmdealer.com and there is a link there to sign up for it. I don't have a slide for that, unfortunately. Hillary did forward it to me. I just didn't copy it. But yeah, go to alarmdealer.com and there is a link to sign on for that, and they'll set you up to be able to do this. It's a very simple process. It's just giving them all your information, and then we provide the communicators, and we'd be glad to work with you and answer any more questions. Just checking for a couple more questions. Obviously, if you think of something after the webinar is over, feel free to give us a call, and we'll answer the best we can. Pre-purchase support. Okay, if you want to know who to call for pre-purchase support, obviously call us here at Worthington. You can speak to me directly. Just ask for Steve, and I'd be glad to talk to you about this. And I realize that there's no slide up with our phone number on it, so it's 1-800-284. Ah, I'm having a hard problem with that. I forgot a phone number here for a second. 800-282-8864. Sorry. Too many numbers to remember. All right. I appreciate everyone attending today's very short presentation. You can give me a call up here at Worthington, 1-800-282-8864, and I'd be glad to answer any questions for you. And don't forget that if you